Yes, you over there tickling her prostate to keep your lights on, and she is laid up. Do you hear me? She's telling Todd, "Can you make that transfer? Cause Kennedy needs it." And you over there tickling her husband's prostate while she doing the transfer. It's just truths that needed to be told. Hey community, it's Daniella Carter from Kokomo City. What's brewing today, baby?
Daniella Carter from Kokomo City.
Grammy recap.
And Drake's penis. So get your cups ready for Minority Report. That's what he did.
That's what he did.
Hey, welcome to Minority Report. It's Auntie Carell.
It's Auntie Dwan.
And it's Auntie Jarrell. Hey, y'all. Look, she ain't sick no more, y'all. We back to
you feeling
live,
good.
okay? When I tell you, had COVID, the flu, and an ear infection, bitch. She was collecting those Thanos stones, bitch.
Oof.
I'm done.
Got
She
molly
really stormed your function.
Okay.
Sat you right on down.
Have several
right
seats.
on down.
Where would you
Literally.
like to?
Have them all.
Reserved, clearly.
You had the VIP section. I know that's right.
Look.
Yeah.
But community. Ooh, I'm excited.
Me too.
I'm excited. We have the activist, the TED talker, the model, the entrepreneur, the film director and producer, the actress, the survivor, and the goddess herself, Daniella Carter from Kokomo City, baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, man. Literally, like, when we saw, like, the trailer of Kokomo City even last year, we're like, oh, we got to get them, like, all on here, But then over time, come to find out, and we got to shout out Z.
Yes,
we got to
Z.
shout out Z. Z's like, oh, I know people. And so Z hooked us up. He's like, oh, yeah, I can get you in contact with her. And so, like, even though we had kind of already reached out on our own, we're like, oh, yeah, if you can reach out to her, absolutely, because we absolutely want to have her on here. And, like, before, like, we get into the details of everything, you in Kokomo City, I'm going to start calling you Pastor Danielle, because she was preaching her face off.
I was going off.
I love it.
I was telling people, like, I'm like, don't think I'm screaming at you. I'm just a really passionate person. Because at some point, after watching it, I was like, I don't know how you don't feel like I'm screaming at you, but
Let me tell you, from the very first moment you said, yo, Flatty, I fell out. I was like, I already know.
Right. We see
each other, okay?
No, I mean, walking in my truth started with looking in the mirror and accepting the things that I wasn't starting out with. And a fat ass is definitely not one of them. And so I was like, well, I can embrace that. That's pretty easy. You know? Because not having an ass really never stopped nobody's son, father, uncle, or cousin from, saying, hey, how you doing?
Ooh, I know that's right.
So I was like...
Dwan said me too.
I died because, like, so I got an ass, but the way you said it just took me, you were just like... And I'm still that bitch. So, like, what? It was just, I just loved everything about it. And I literally have a note about, like, 8 different things you said that I was like, bitch, you were coming with these one-liners. Took me out. Like you said, don't have to flip a monkey or tickle a prostate to keep the lights on. I said, you better stop.
Oh, Barbara Ann.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You over there tickling her prostate to keep your lights on, and she is laid up. Do you hear me? She's telling Todd, can you make that transfer? Because Kennedy needs it. And you over there tickling her husband's prostate while she doing the transfer. It's just truths that needed to be told.
Oh, baby. Told.
Like Jay said at the Grammys, he said, when I get nervous, I speak the truth.
I had nothing to lose, so I was like, all I can do is talk my truth. I'm already black and trans. Listen, I did the
That's
hardest
right.
part, and that was living in my truth and walking in it proudly.
Absolutely.
So,
Proudly.
But
Yes, absolutely.
before we even get to all of that, though, happy Black History Month, by the way, community.
Yes.
You know, we told
Hey.
you all month we're just gonna be black. I mean, we blackety black every week and every month
I
and
was
everything.
like, let me know how you take it off for a second.
I don't know how to, but
Could
this
you
month we
imagine?
extra.
That
Lord.
part.
Okay, and so like tell us like before even the Kokomo City and before the TED Talks and all that stuff. Like I know you were born in New York, but I feel like I read somewhere that you also had like some Midwest background or something like Indiana or something like that as well.
No, honey. Definitely New
No,
York.
okay,
My
just New
man
York.
that
Okay,
dragged, yeah, my man
She said, "Don't get it
dragged.
twisted.
Yes,
Don't
she
drag
said
me
no.
into that mess."
Oh no, Indiana is a very special place.
She said, "Y'all got Great Lakes."
she said
And
that's cute
decent
for y'all.
corn. No, but I got married a year ago, and so my
Oh, okay,
husband
that's
is
what
from
it was.
Indiana.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we're all from the
Okay.
Midwest, so we're like, okay, we see each other. So,
Yeah.
but she's like, no,
And
that's y'all from
No, 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 no.
there.
I'm letting you know, and I love everybody I've been working with, but when we rapped, I wanted them to hear the tires like screeching as I was cutting that right to go back to New York.
I got to get the fuck up out of here.
It was too
Oh, honey.
much. But I love the community that I was able to build there, but no. Shout out
Yeah.
to all
not
the
my-
people in Indiana and the community that decides to stay there. Like, it
Yeah.
takes a very brave and strong
Yeah.
individual to just stick
Let
that
let me
out.
just
I'm
let me
from
just
Gary,
say,
Indiana, so I know.
let me just say, I need to. Apparently, I'm taking. I took last week off, and I'm taking this week off because I am not bringing the heat at all.
Right,
Thankfully,
2024, everybody else bringing the heat.
No, I'm serious.
she didn't.
It's
She
normally
didn't
the
open up
wine.
the door. Now everybody else kicking it through.
That part. That part. So she said, no, New York, New York. Okay, now, okay. Then
No,
you got
all
that squared
day.
away.
And I'm like,
All
and
day.
my childhood was not the easiest. So I'm like, but I
Yeah.
would still take every bit of those adversities than to claim that I'm from the Midwest. No shame. I will take the Fortran any day.
Any day.
Over, yeah, of course. Then to walk 30 miles to get to community? Nah, I'm okay. But
She's like, I'm
again,
good.
shout out to those people who remain brave and strong and stick through that. Seriously, that's some tough
Beautiful
shit.
gowns.
I guess I should have said I'm gonna pass on that.
Right. It's like that's enough for me, dog. I'm good. But okay, so grew up in New York, but then like obviously, I mean, community. You need to read and look at everything that's Daniella Carter and her story to see you thriving now through all the adversities you've gone through is incredible, and it's just a testament to your strength because
Thank you.
woo, Jesus. Like, I mean, I don't know how much you want to kind of reiterate, but just like, I mean,
No, it's
being
okay.
in foster system and on your own pretty much from 14,
Yeah.
what, like, now that, like, you know the strength you have, looking back at that, like, what would you even say to that person now?
So you want to know what's so crazy? So, and I'm not just saying this for the show. So today I literally went back to all the childhood homes that I lived in Queens, in South Jamaica. And I think for me, and it's funny because I'm processing this with y'all, so I hope I don't get emotional. But it was a reminder to my younger self, right, as I went down memory lane. And I thought about, because at that time I was presented as male and as a young boy, and I was sheltered in the sense of only going to church, to school, didn't have much community, right? And so when I think about now where I am today, whether it be married and black and trans, whether it be thriving black and trans, I think about where the journey started. And it was like, no shade. I gagged when I realized that for me now with my adult, well-informed and exposed eyes, I was like, bitch, that kind of look like a crack house. But then I was like, but then I was reminded, right? Like, no matter whether I see this as a crack house or this is a community that's in poverty, right? Like, that's my beginning, right? And there was a little kid that was dreaming walking down those blocks. And I had the audacity to go to the supermarket and ask them, like, is this the same supermarket owned by such and such? And then I had the nerve to go even further to say, do you remember me? And then it was like, hold on, sis, I don't think you even ready to go that far to go down memory lane.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was like, I remember thinking just like I escaped what felt like abuse and violence. Well, not felt like it was, but I felt like something that was never going to turn into the impossible, right? And that was my dreams, because just to be able to exist as myself was a dream, right? And to not have to be locked in an attic, to not have to deal with sexual assault, right? So I discovered myself and my community from just simply jumping out a window, and to see that home and to see that I've looked out of really nice windows these days, means that I was destined for it, I was deserving of it, and that everybody that I lost along the way just didn't see not only the value in me in terms of financially, but just the light that I could bring to their life and helping them understand what being unapologetic looks like. Because that's liberation, that until you're able to go through things, right? And really build who you are, and your character is built through adversities and then persevering through it, right? And I realized that there's so many people forgotten still. There's so many people living there and they're forgotten. And bitch, you are not forgotten. You are in people's living rooms. Like, you are somebody that is attached to legacies, right? That will continue to educate generations and generations to come, which means that Darrell had to jump out the window to be Daniella. So that way the other Daniela or Daniqua or Deshauna or Shaniqua or Takia or whoever, or even Elizabeth, goddammit.
Because you know how we do it.
Right, come on,
Okay,
come on.
no trust.
Come on, Ellen.
And I'm low-key problematic, but we ain't gonna go there right now. But what I'm saying is, right, like, there's somebody who's still there, who's still in that community, and they need to know that it's possible, that you can, you know, escape that and you can thrive and find community. And so to everybody who told me I was confused, I wasn't deserving, I'm sorry that somebody has to put bail on your books right now. I'm very sorry that you may not have experienced the love that I do today. But what I know is I'm not who you said I was supposed to be. I'm who I was supposed to be for me. So
I love that. Like Darrell said, preach it.
I really be dragging stuff, so you gotta really work.
But for real, like, I mean, but it hits home, and the truth is, I love that it's your story with your voice, and it's not being said in a way that isn't true to who you are as a person, right? And just hearing your story and just hearing you now, like, just now meeting you, and I can already be like, man, this is someone who is going to be changing lives. Because growing up, for all of us, just as Black folks, right, we just have certain limits because we couldn't see it, right? And now you get to be something to someone to be able to see that gets them to know that they can also be it as well.
Right.
And to see that you created and found your own community when you didn't have is just another powerful thing, because I think that's something that a lot of people still today go through with not having community, especially in queer spaces as well, because the queer space don't look like a lot of us to begin with, you know, and everything that's marketed and everything that gets the green light and, oh my God, everyone wants that, it's all white. So by default, we already got to build our community too. So I love seeing and hearing with other, you know, with other folks being able to do that as well too.
But I also I feel like I want to speak to the fact that I'm okay with knowing that at a certain point in my journey, I was the token, that I was being exploited, and that in some ways I had to be what feels like a sacrificial lamb for others to exist and be able to thrive without having to be the token, without having to be the exploiter, right? So it's okay. Like, for me, I've learned throughout my journey that I've had several seats, right? I wasn't always in the driver's seat. Sometimes I wasn't even in the passenger seat. Sometimes I was in a broke down hoopty that barely had a back seat. But what I was always having a seat, right? Whether it be at the table in a car, you know, but I knew that it was important for me to keep showing up because there was somebody else who needed it. It was never about me. Nothing that I have tried to do is really about me. It's about the younger version of me, right? That I know that young Daniela, excuse me, I'm going to slip again, baby. But, you know, that young Daniela didn't have somebody to look up to because literally I was a different era, right? So what I know, it's so important to see any type of representation, right? So it's like, okay, maybe I gotta go just be this token for this big organization. Maybe I gotta let this network act like they really care about trans lives just to create representation. But ultimately, what I know is that there's equity somewhere in there. Now, it is left up to me as a person who gained the access to figure out how do I build equity off of being tokenized. And so whether it's establishing my own platforms, whether it's inviting more people in, right, who have the language, who know how to navigate these spaces to help me understand how to cultivate equity and create tangible tools, right? Because that's it too. It's like we talk about all these different tools and systems, but who can access them? And then when you think about the people accessing them, it's not usually the most vulnerable, who's the most marginalized. And so I let my vulnerability be the access point for people to maybe understand the importance of going to others that look like me.
I think
You
what I
just
also
dropping
appreciate
bars
about
left and right.
Sorry.
It's dope.
I drag it. I tell you, I know I do.
I think what I also appreciate about your story is it goes back to that notion of there's never a testimony without a test. And so going through adversity and coming out on the other side of it helps us to more appreciate the privileges that we have being on the other side of that struggle. And then when you look back and you see exactly how far you've come, it really helps to keep that notion in our minds of let's not take this for granted because we know what it's like when we didn't have this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But also, is it kind of cool though to when you look back like that to also hype yourself up and be like, I am a bad bitch. Like I did all that, especially with the odds against you and people, may not having your best interest and some because people are haters. Some people will wish bad against you, right? And still overseeing all that and still getting what's meant for you. That's being a bad bitch.
I feel like when I wake up in the morning, it's like first I have to talk to myself from when I go from that transformation to Ray J to Brandy because it's a real one every day without this wig, right? And so
See,
by
you
the
know
time I make it to the Brandy part of my day, yes, I feel like a bad bitch, but not from a place of ego, but because, again, I think, and a lot of people actually have had to call me out on it in a sense of looking at where I'm at now and seeing that I now have certain privileges, right? And I always go back to like my upbringing, my childhood. You don't know how hard it was, but I know this might sound crazy, but I don't think I've even reached the surface of what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
And so because I haven't even gotten to that place, right? What I know is that I'm still evolving, that I am not as important as I think I am, and that the only thing that is important to me is me finding ways to make my work more intentional, to be more impactful, right? And so what I think about whatever a legacy could look like or my accolades or success would so-called be called, I'm successfully waking up every day knowing that living in my truth will take me closer to my destiny, which will bring nothing but an army of people who's in chains and don't know that direction. They don't know a pathway to their destiny. I'm creating some type of model for that, right? So I'm not the one, but there's a model for it that says if you're from foster care, you can do it too. If you're black and trans and start out at sex work, you can be in corporate spaces. So, I mean, to some extent, am I a bad bitch? Yeah, when I'm suited, booted, and in glam, peeled out. but but when it comes to what I believe I've done, I did what any child who had been abandoned the way that I have been deserved to have a person show up for them. And that had to start with me, right? And so I'm grateful that all of the work that I've managed to achieve in my life, I was always able to be unapologetic about it because it tells other trans women too, you don't have to look a certain way, sound a certain way. You can just be yourself, and being yourself can take you on a pathway to success.
Baby, you walked that line with such grace. Let me tell you, you walked that line with grace as fuck.
Jerome, you would have been swinging.
Because in my mind, I'm like, you a bad bitch. But I'm like, but you're right. You okay? Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
well, this is me without 5 glasses of whiskey, a late night in a room full of white people. I promise you.
I know that's the same
Now,
here.
to my people, I'll be gracious. To white people, oh no, you have to know it.
Yeah.
No,
that's a
Karen,
word.
tonight's
That's
not
a
that
word.
night.
Not tonight.
It's not about you.
Exactly.
Question for you, like, because like outside of yourself, who's the first person that you feel like saw you and got you? Like, because even when we go through some struggles, there's always that onesie twosies, that person that like gave you like a little hint of hope. Like, thank you. That's what I needed to kind of keep going.
Okay, so that I saw, okay, so don't kill me, and I'm not trying to feel it, but so there's been quite a few people, but there is a person before, a person I actually saw and met, and it just feels like the universe dropped them in my lap, but it's a book, and then I'll go to a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at Robin Roberts, Everybody's Got Something was probably the first tool that I ever had that told me that I was of value, right? Because here she is going through cancer, right? And she's going through all these adversities. I didn't even know she was like an athlete or none of that. What I saw was an example of a successful black woman in media, something I hope to be. Okay, so I was like, okay, you might be broke, you might not even know your gender today, but what you know is Robin Roberts got a message in this book. Now, when I then went on my journey, and I mean, this is even after being raped, right, and had, I mean, literally walking into work, all this craziness, but I walked by a newsstand, and I'll never forget, I was with a very good friend of mine, and I saw Janet Mock on the cover of Marie Claire. And I was leaving the young adult internship program at the Door program, which is in the city. A number of people have been through it, well-known figures here in the LGBTQ who are from New York. And so, I go past this newsstand, and I said to my friend, I was like, I'm going to meet her. I said, and I'm going to tell her that I don't want to become a star, but that I just need her to help me develop the tools that I need so that way I can get out of survival, right? So, because I'm good and a little touched. So I reached out to no shade, I am a little smidgy.
Yeah.
But, and it's okay to be on the spectrum. But, so I see Jen and I reach out to her and I said what I just said. I was like, I don't care about fame. What I know is I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of only seeing sex workers as the only example of success. And what you've done is who I hope to be. Now, so this is what happens when you grow up in the church. So I didn't even know People magazine, okay? I barely knew Ebony because we wasn't watching that. We knew Bobby Jones Gospel. Okay?
Come on now. With them fly ass suits.
Listen, now I can tell you that, right? I can tell you what First Lady was wearing last Sunday. But I say all this to say, right? Like, so I don't have any awareness of pop culture or like what, her role as an editor-in-chief of a magazine even mean. But I remember meeting her, and we're sitting down in Union Square at Think Coffee, right? And she says to me, who do you want to be? And I said, I don't want to put so much pressure on myself and say that I know who I want to be. But what I know is that what I've been going through for the last 14 years of my life, I would hate for anyone that looked like me to go through it. So she says, okay, I got you. I lie to you not, this lady takes me from a coffee shop, meet Isis King. From Isis King, I'm in a room with Ebony Magazine people, Marie Claire, Laverne Cox, right before she gets on Orange is the New Black. So it felt like, right, when I think about what I needed to see and understand my calling in terms of bringing me closer to my destiny, it literally started with that magazine cover. Because up until that point, all I knew was how to be, within the community they would say is a knot who had a dream of becoming the doll, right? But I saw more than that in Janet. I saw an established woman with cute curls and was there as rain. Okay.
She do got some cute curls. You're right. She do got some cute curls.
Right. And so it was like finally the examples I didn't even have in what was considered to be my traditional family. I had an example of what I was being welcomed into my new community and family. And she was that for me. She was that safe space. She was that representation that I think I needed, because I'm telling you, Anita Baker is my fave of the fave. So you had to present it a certain type of way to get me. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I'm like, I
yes.
know what the struggle look like. And I need you to make this make sense when you say this is success.
Right.
That's a word.
But
That is
Janet
a
did it,
word.
and she took me from every bit of not knowing who I was to who I was supposed to be in the world. And so I'm forever grateful for her and Laverne for first platforming me and making anything else that happened possible.
Representation thing is so huge. We say that all the time on here, but like literally, just simply seeing someone that looks like you on a magazine cover could like change the trajectory of life. And like people think it's just so minute. No, this shit is for real. Like
Janet
representation
definitely made me
matters.
take my moans, okay?
Yeah.
Janet had me like, doctor, whatever she's on, I need a dose of that. I don't care about the law. Just get me that.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of a side question. So a little bit about the history of the podcast. I got dragged for not really knowing Anita Baker. Like I know some of her
Rightfully so.
music. See, there's the face. There you go. See, look. So here's the thing. I know who Anita Baker is. I realized that I know Anita Baker's songs, but didn't know that she was the one that sing the songs. Okay. So
I'm
after
sorry, but in the name of Anita Baker, not during
Thank
Black
you.
History Month.
Hold
No,
on, wait,
no,
wait,
I'm
wait, wait,
giving
wait,
you
wait,
the best
wait.
that I got, though.
Hold on, baby. This is, but let me, but here. So what the aunties didn't know, okay, and they might have kind of got this, but one of my New Year's resolutions is to know the Anita Baker catalog. So
Yes.
I have been including Anita Baker more and more into my music,
I'm
okay.
gagging.
So
That's how we
wanna
were
know-
gooped, gagged, and like disheveled.
It's the homework for me.
Right.
I'm doing my homework, okay? I was about to ask Daniella what's her favorite Anita Baker song so I can put it in rotation.
There you go.
You know what? In honor of Anita Baker's legacy, I'm going to send you a thorough email.
Okay.
That part.
Make her
Clip
work.
notes of what this line means,
Yes.
and what hairstyle she had in the
Like,
video,
what?
and
What
Look,
happened, baby?
I
And I screwed up.
I just added my first Anita Baker song literally on January 1st.
So you
that's
added one
literally
song.
that's
Wait a minute. Where was you raised?
No.
Indiana.
Oh, that's very on brand. I apologize now. Sorry. How dare I?
That's a song you can add.
Right.
Poor Anita Baker.
Poor Anita Baker. Poor
That is
us when we
insane.
found that out. We was like, hold the hell up.
She said I added one song January
One.
1st, which was 2 months ago.
Okay, look, I'm
Not
not
even.
saying I didn't know
I was
the
like,
song.
yeah, because, wait, but what happened?
It finally just grew up on me. Like, finally just grew
No.
on me. as-
You grown, so I don't know if it grew up on you.
That part.
But you know what? We have to understand that, Black is a spectrum and a diaspora in
spectrum.
which we really have to show up for people like you who exist.
Let me tell you, I'm an 80s baby who truly acts like a 90s baby. Who I know music from the 80s, but there's a lot I just know songs, but I don't know artists about.
Were you really born in Indiana? Like, I feel like I really
Yes, I
want-
was. I was
Okay,
born
yeah,
in
it's
Gary,
on
Indiana,
brand.
baby.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. Wait, they didn't have like a little museum?
Look, the
Gary
the
black as
Jackson,
hell.
Yeah.
Like Gary is
Where
black
we're
as hell.
from,
I
so
don't know
we
how
just-
he missed that.
That's where the Jacksons grew up.
Yeah,
we
that's
were
I'm like, no.
we were
I don't
focused.
know
I
how
was
he missed
focused
that.
everywhere else other than Anita Baker.
I got you. I know
I
the
mean,
KKK
like you just go
was
to the
thriving,
grocery store,
so.
you hear Anita Baker. I don't know.
I feel
And
like
back
just
then, when they-
because you're you, it's very unique
Got it.
to you.
Got it, baby. Got it, baby. I was like, thank you.
Nope. Oh, I've been plugging her in the whole time.
I love it. I love it. Oh,
Wow.
man.
But wow, okay.
But another
Indiana,
question, like,
boy.
Indiana.
I really got
I
you
mean,
with that one.
we all
I really got you
Midwest,
with that
like,
one.
We like Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio growing up, but we knew Anita Baker. Come on now.
That part.
That's
So
the
wait,
one
do you
thing
know
we
who
was going to
Cicely
know.
Tyson is?
Yes, I know who Cicely Tyson
Okay,
is.
just checking it.
It's true though. We
I don't
be
know
asking them random
everybody.
names every once in a while.
Really do. I do. Look, it's like a pop quiz every night.
It's true. We be like, "Do you know Jody Watley?" He's like, "No, I don't know Jody Watley." We're like, "How you not know Jody Watley?"
You
Yeah, I
don't
didn't
know
know
Karen
Jody
White.
Yeah. There's just
What?
some, there's just
Okay, how liberated are the black women around you that they don't know?
Right. Okay, can I also just say, like, for me, my upbringing,
No super women.
my mama was a teenager raising a baby. Okay, so she didn't also have a lot of older people and around her. She has a whole other story
older
of
people.
going through. But no, I mean, my mom like
That's a word.
raised herself at 14.
She just
so like
she
she,
just
has
sprouted.
her own
She just
story.
sprouted out of the earth. There were no older people around her ever in life.
No, honestly, real talk, mom. That's the.
But
swear
in
to God
Indiana,
truth.
that
Like,
could be
my,
very likely.
my
yeah.
mom was a child raising herself, and a child raising a child. So
Yeah.
she wasn't around certain types of music because that was just not what she was exposed to. She didn't have people in her life.
But
to be like,
Now,
imagine,
so
like,
I'm gonna
Anita's
throw
like
this back on my mother
1943.
because
Anita was like
No.
1988.
no, that's
baby,
what I'm gonna make this
again,
about my
I was
mama, who
born
was a teen making
1988.
it.
So when I was old enough to know Anita Baker, I was well
Yeah.
into the 90s at that point.
Wait, so
and
she
my
didn't
mom
want to
was-
tell you what tracks made you is the thing.
Ooh,
honestly, I don't even know if it was Anita Baker.
That could be it, because I'm like, Anita was outside.
Anita was outside. Anita was
And
outside.
and honestly, back then, when you heard music, they always said the name of the artist before they played that song. They
On the
didn't just
Qui-
play
on
a
the Quiet
song
Storm.
either before, exactly,
Yes, for
either
the
before
Quiet
or
Storm.
whatever. Y'all would
Quiet
just
Storm.
I didn't get the Quiet Storm. I didn't do any of that
That
when I was in the
Anita Baker,
90s.
Sweet Love, right here.
I
Number
didn't
2
get
on the Quiet
any of
Storm.
that as a kid in the 90s.
So were you just like sitting up in your room?
Basically, honestly, I had to like.
I
it
was like,
the
do you know who
radio.
that song is? You know who that?
I know
Brandy?
Brandy.
He knows that.
Yes, but again,
Okay.
that's 90s though, right? Like,
No, I know. I was testing. I want
Yeah.
to see how.
Yeah.
how-
but that's where I had to kind of
No,
sneak
where we
off
could
and
go.
start learning music for myself.
Jarrell, don't you love that everyone that hears that gets gooped and gagged all over?
Gooped and gagged.
It
Wow.
shocks everybody every single time. But
I low key think he's like Lil Nas Xing us. He's just trolling us with
He's
this.
just
He knows
trolling us.
exactly who she is, but he wants to pretend like he didn't lived in this goddamn Indiana bubble and get it, Gary, Indiana, that clearly has no exposure whatsoever to black
Anita
music,
Baker
black stuff,
specifically.
who was the thing back. Okay.
No, honestly,
Well,
like,
maybe they never had.
slide on down that pole to hell, girl.
no, let me tell you, like my grandma who raised me, I didn't grow up as a PK, but my grandma was the one that had me at Bible study. I was teaching Bible camp. I was at Bible camp. Like I was listening to gospel. I didn't and jazz. So that's what I grew up from. My grandparents that raised me was gospel and jazz. I can talk all day about
She
that.
was. She was
But
like,
even I stuck up.
baby.
Right. The right time's the right time.
Oh,
But
no.
even I snuck out and heard a little Anita Baker though.
But okay,
I
but,
know, I
but
was like,
88, but you were like 5 in 88 though, girl. I was 1. I was months. I was literally born in 88. So
But,
me
I
being
mean,
able
But
to
I want to just say something. I was born in '94, boo.
All right, next question.
So throw that hole in
Next
the, throw that all in the garbage.
Next question.
Throw that all
Put
away.
that out.
Throw that right.
Next question. I'm yelling at my parents. They failed
I love
me.
how
They failed me.
love how
They failed me.
I love how Auntie
They
Henny
failed me.
was the one that brought this whole conversation up to begin with.
I know.
So did. She said, next question.
Look, ain't no
Oh,
shame.
Lord.
Chill.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll
But I
get
wanna
there.
do better.
I guess this
I said
is
I
what
wanna
they
do better.
2024.
I said I want to do better. This
No,
me
but I
trying to
guess
do
this
better.
is
Doing
what
the
they
homework.
consider critical race theory in Indiana. What?
They said,
Good.
fuck that Anita Baker. We ain't
my
playing no
God.
Anita Baker in this state.
Right.
Oh,
I can't.
Lord. But,
Oh.
all right. So, question for you. So, like, in your TED Talk, you had mentioned about, like, when you were, like, it hit you that when you were transitioning, it might have hit your mom saying that, "Oh, I'm losing another black man."
No,
And when
that's
you said
Kokomo
that,
City.
That's
Not my
was that
tent
Kokomo City?
town.
Oh, not the TED. Okay, my
Yeah.
bad. Let me get my
Yeah.
notes straight here.
My
But
mama
in
left me
Kokomo
on the
City-
street for TED
Yeah.
Talk.
Oh, damn. Well, that's that question too. Then, but
It is what it is.
so that was kind of an interesting because I never thought about it that way either. Have you had a conversation with her specifically on that, or is like there's like
Yes.
no Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
No, of course. I think for me it was important that I started to understand what she felt like she lost, because it was like, here it is 10 years later. You clearly know that I'm going to ride on the pole straight to hell, I guess, as she would call it. But, I felt like I didn't understand what was this disconnect between us and what was she really dealing with after I had been lost in the system, right? 14 years
Yeah.
already. So when I started to understand that my mother had a nice amount of kids, right? A football team, as I like to call it. And none of those black men stayed in her life. None of those black men were consistent. None of those black men, really modeled with unconditional love look like. And my mother had lost her father at a very young age. And so she was also a teen mom. And by the time I came, right, here you have, this is your third child at 19. Right, and this is a very different era. So, we're dealing with crack epidemic. We're dealing with, not a lot of language or conversations around what sexual assault looks like. So a lot of things for her had to be normalized and considered black survival. And so as I started to understand that there is certain things that I'm afforded because of the ways in which I can show up in my black womanhood and my black womanness, as I like to call it, and I know that my mother, in no shape or form, I love her down, but she isn't that, right? She's not going to ever be perceived as the conservative black, the Afro elitist. Like, so now it's, okay, how do we unpack this for her, right? And it was, okay, you are another example of a black man who's leaving her, who's saying to her, I am not going to protect you. I am here just as vulnerable as you. In no ways am I going to do that thing that you expect a son to do, right? Which is, I'm going to ride for my mama. I'm coming to beat up men when you getting beat up. Like, no, sis. We both gonna maybe need to call the police. We both gonna maybe need to figure this out. And that's my truth, because it's like, baby, I was a kitten when I did this. So what my mother couldn't understand was like, this is her teenage son, right? Who's saying that they're a woman. Well, at that time, a girl. So it's like, here you are, and I'm at the middle of her losing more black men in her life, right? And now it's like my black son is saying, I'm a black woman. I'm as vulnerable as you. I might need to use your clothes. I might need to use your wig, perfume.
Yeah.
And I realized that we both was yearning for something, right, when we first reconnected. And it was, she was yearning to meet her son. I was yearning for a clear Huxtable. And a bitch I could read down, because I just didn't get why I was the one that had to gag. But when we got back, I had a nasty word, okay? And I didn't pass the orphan plate after. I just kicked the girls out the function. But it was seriously, it was like really getting for her, like, what is it going to take for you to accept that Darrell's never coming back? Yeah. And when I realized that, like, we got to go to when Day Day left her too. We got to go to when Tyreek might have left her too. Like, and I look like them. I was that for her. And then I was like, damn, sis. So I don't know how we going to do this, but we could do this like a cheap cremation, because this service got to be quick.
Where the food at?
No, there's no repast. No.
Right.
No, wait. Crematory.
Period.
So what do we got to talk about? And it was like, okay, so you need to accept that I'm not coming back, right?
Yeah,
And that your daughter's here, and she's here to
Yeah.
stay. And because she played. It was like, you're going to figure it out with God. And I'm like, nah, me and God already talked, and my titties is going with me. So I don't know how that's going to show up for you after you accept that too, right?
Yeah, you showed up and God said, yes, sis, yes.
Right,
This is what I
yes.
meant, baby. Yes.
No, and I told my mother too. I said, listen, we've had conversations, so I don't need you to have one on my behalf, right? And these are things that I had to do with her, because it was like I had this expectation of acceptance, love for her to see me as her daughter. And it's like, no, she's heartbroken that her son, right, a son she lost, a son that to some extent she probably carries guilt because of all the things that I went through, right? But now this daughter of hers is saying, I'm resilient. I'm strong. I'm going to be a strong black woman like you. That's too much. That's too much for somebody who expected their black child to be their savior. And I'm selfish not to think that it's my responsibility as much as it's hers to accept me, but to process that with her. And the only way we can do it is by acknowledging that that version of me is dead, boo. Like, he ain't coming, sis. And it was like, and I had to keep reiterating that because she had hope. I'm talking about 10 years strong. Sis thought it was given, turn the lights off. Like, and I was going to come back. Like, and I had to tell her, like, I'm not my father. I'm not the man who hurt you. I'm the woman who needed to discover herself. And it may have started out with a male journey, but I'm self-assured that your son can't return because this woman in me feels loved. This woman feels celebrated. This woman feels accepted. And I've always said to everybody, right? I don't care about religious beliefs because what I feel and what I felt that day that I stood in my conviction, nobody can condemn me. Nobody can tell me that they can define my womanhood because that conviction lives in me and that's enough. Mm-hmm. And so it was getting my mother to that place too. Like, either you are for me and if you're against me, I'm so fine with that too, sis. But take your 6 feet like COVID. And when you take those 6 feet, make sure you add another 6 in the name of your ignorance and then slap on another 6 for the son you waiting for. And that's the appropriate amount of distance for you to process that your son's not coming back.
It's right? Like you need a good 18.
No, for real. But, and then the craziest thing though, that I'm saying all this is, but it's my mother's best friends were all trans women. My mother's best friends were all sex workers. Right? So I knew, right, going into it, that this wasn't about me. This wasn't about her lack of acceptance. This was about how another black man showed up in her life. Yeah. So I had to do it for her because, no shade, she didn't have a great quality education. She's not doing that work, honey. She grew up a little further back than Anita Baker. So, you know what I mean? Just point that out. Yeah. But I knew that it wasn't something culturally we were ready to have a conversation about in terms of getting the pronouns and, oh, see me, versus how can I see you? And in return, seeing you will help you see me. And so that's really what it was about, you know, and just going on the journey for her because sis needed somebody to go on the journey. Yeah. You know, but we got to do it with them.
I was going to say, it's amazing to hear that you made space, or not even able to make space, but that you also took the time to help with processing that. Like, some of us have parents who just didn't have, we just kind of help them get to where they need to go. Like, we know that they can eventually get there, but they just can't do the work themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like sometimes we have to almost parent our parents to get them to understand some things that they don't get, because there's a level of ignorance in our community that's so rooted into how generations were taught before us, that we got to teach them to unlearn some shit to make space for the new stuff that was not taught correctly before. And so to be walking in your truth and kind of figuring and finding yourself, but also making time to do that for your mom, I think is just amazing.
But let's not forget, we're talking about things that they just didn't want to talk about, right? Like, we all knew about Uncle Tom or Johnny or Craig who was touching, right? Yeah. Right, and it may not necessarily have happened to the person who turned out to be LGBTQ, but the person who didn't just never spoke out about it, right? And so there's just been things that we've labeled as taboo, and especially in the black community, it's like those taboo things we just never speak on, and we're going to act like they don't exist until we're met with it at our front door. And when it comes to our front door, now we got to accept that we're no longer the most palatable black within this black community, right? So now we have that standout relative, and it further somehow marginalizes us. And it's like, girl, the gay is probably going to be the one to get you out of the hood. The trans is definitely going to make sure the rent stay paid so the gay brother can get you out the hood, right? Like, the trickling of equity that comes with just being LGBTQ. No, but I mean, to be serious, it's
The
just,
trickling of equity of being LGBTQ. I love that.
no, you know, I'm a mess. But it's understanding too, though, right? Like that these people refuse to talk about it because they didn't know how to talk about how it showed up in them, right? And because the more of the gag, the person who I experienced homelessness by was a lesbian her entire life. I found out at 25 that the woman who kicked me out was a lesbian, right? And it wasn't like get out because you're trans. It was you've experienced so much physical abuse that staying here and being trans, I'm not getting beat for both, right? So it's like I'll figure it out on the street. But then when I sat in that, it was like, wow, I showed up as a reminder to this woman, right? That it's okay to be yourself, but she had to sit with why she felt like it wasn't okay to be herself, right? And to have to age in life and get to a point, right, where you feel like it's golden years, is that all in? Like you can't reimagine your life because you see it's so close to ending that you get frustrated with those people who's being unapologetically themselves. Because like, shit, I missed 50 years of being me. I was a closeted lesbian, a closeted trans person. So now you just out here trying to prevent everybody else from being happy because you never got to be happy. And I understand it in the Black community, it's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of unhappy people watching other Black queer people be happy, and that bothers them. They call themselves liberated. And these could be millionaires. These are people with what we consider success, with privilege, all the things, right? Like heteronormity, right? You know, conforming to binary, but it's like you're not really happy.
I didn't know we were going to be talking about Nikki this episode.
Oh, stop it.
I didn't purchase enough plastic and cocaine for the conversation.
Right.
Shout out to the Barbs. I don't got time, but you'll get blocked anyway.
Because they probably already blocking us from last week's conversation.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care.
So
They will be all right. They will be all right.
oh, that's right.
Now I'm like, she need a little more silicone. But I think Joanne is going anyway, so rest in peace, Joanne. That's the silicone doctor from New York.
Dang.
But yeah,
I think what's really fascinating about your journey, particularly with your mom, is the notion that you were mature enough and confident enough in who you were as a fully fledged, fully realized person, regardless of the circumstances, to navigate a conversation that we as Black people are not prepared to have, even with our own peers, let alone our parents, with whom we are taught from infancy that we are supposed to revere, regardless of whatever they do for us and to us. And to be able to navigate those conversations and be secure enough in yourself to know that you don't need the validation, but if there is going to be a relationship, it has to be on these kinds of terms and be unequivocal in that conviction it's inspiring, to be honest with you, because there are not a lot of people that are capable of having that level of self-confidence in there, because there is this desire for acceptance that oftentimes supersedes our own self-acceptance, and so we'll acquiesce what we need to be our full selves, to be there for somebody else or be the version of ourselves for that other person's happiness, just to have their acceptance. And the fact that you didn't choose that path and navigated that conversation and set boundaries for yourself is admirable, really.
thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, for me, as much as I had to process that with them, it's also how did Black women show up in my life, right? I experienced abandonment, abuse, right, from these women, but it's so funny when I think about it, they say, like, you want to be me. You know, if what I've been exposed to, right, is the example of what I want to be, then that means I want to be an abuser. That means that I want to abandon more Black people. And the fact that I have chosen to literally dedicate my life to doing the complete opposite, for me, should have been very clear to other Black women that I didn't want to be you. because I didn't have good examples of what a black woman was. What I wanted to be was me, and in return, what I got was the best quality of a black woman that I imagined myself to be. Right, still working on me, but it's okay. That person that I consider a person of substance to be is something I've never been exposed to. Right. And I know that abuse was just disguised with religious beliefs. I know that me getting my gender and sexuality police is rooted in somebody else not living out in their truth. But ultimately, it's like I realize that the responsibility in my life and in conversations with others is to really start having real conversations, right? Like conversations that's going to actually get people to understand our experiences and also be and not just empathetic and compassionate to theirs, but it's like as black people, we need to get to the root of this shit because I could potentially lose my life in the hands of somebody that looks just like me. That doesn't fall on the white man. That doesn't fall on, the straight person. That doesn't fall on even the person who's attracted to me and would kill me. What for me that feels like is within different cultures and communities, we're not having real conversations. And so what I know is that if I'm able to model any type of conversation that can even, be this distant reality for a black mother, right? And say, is my shit rooted in this? Can I rethink about how I'm showing up for my trans child? And if that's all it does, even if she don't call that child, if it just makes her think about how she showed up in that trans child's life, then that was enough for me because then that means it was never for me. I was never supposed to be loved by my mother. I was never supposed to be loved by my adopted mother. But I was supposed to be here to be abandoned and then learn love from my husband, from other people in my community, and experience love that in turn was going to take those experiences and become a model for other mothers, for other people to experience the love that I didn't. And I'm okay with that. It wasn't easy getting there, but I'm okay with, saying that, like, it's not for you always. And what's not for you isn't for you. But what is, is. And baby, I'm glad that what was for me is better than what I've been through.
No, that's
Absolutely,
right.
baby.
And community again, Kokomo City.
Sorry, I've been going
Because I meant to say no. I meant to say this from the jump because she was preaching throughout Kokomo City just like this. It is everything. But it's on Paramount Plus with the Showtime add-on or Showtime whatever if you just buy Showtime. So that's where you can see even more Daniella on this because it's everything. I'm telling you, it's a dope documentary. And you kind of hit on something just about just like even folks that look like us killing folks and harming folks. And even we saw from the documentary Coco the doll being murdered in Atlanta literally right when this documentary was coming out. So it's just like these are the conversations we need to have specifically within the black and brown communities because it starts with us first to get our shit together. Fuck everybody else right now because we still harming our own damn selves within our communities. And it's kind of like one of those things too, just like even as a gay black man, we know there's even privilege that we have that might be even bigger than the black trans community, and it's our responsibility as well to protect our brothers and sisters and non-binary within our communities. And so we can stop seeing headlines saying Coco the doll is dead and all this stuff. Like, it's ridiculous. And we, like you said, we can't blame the white person on that because we still doing shit. Yes, we know there's PTSD and trauma from the histories, but it's our responsibility to work through that. And that's the stuff that, like, we need to be mature enough now to say, I know I got some shit and some Louis Vuitton luggage that I'm dragging around here, but damn it, I'm gonna leave this bag lady shit over there because I'm tired of it.
Okay. No, for sure. And I was just saying about like the project that I'm doing about like, the trans experience in the Midwest. And I reached out to a number of people and I even got some people to come on camera, right, who's considered community allies specifically to the trans community. And, there were some people who either backed out last minute or their schedule, they just couldn't make it work in their schedule or they were afraid of speaking out about it. And, it's unfortunate, but what I know will happen because so many of us will sit out the election because we're at a place where it's like a lesser evil and then we say, oh, well, Biden ain't do nothing for me. But then, all your civil liberties and all those things will be on the line, right, in terms of marriage equality and even federal protections. And so what I know is that the L and the G has been riding, right, those protections. And when this next administration, if it's conservative, right, or Republican or Donald Trump, and they go and they start ripping away those protections, magically, the girls will be at the function. So when trans people was murdered, right, and it was like at a record, excuse me, at a record point where in a global pandemic, right, that trans people were being murdered, and nobody thought to have an outrage over that, right? And I'm not trying to try anybody and take away from the tragedy of O'Shea, but what happened to him happens to trans people every day. Magically, when a gay man was murdered and a black gay man was murdered, who is a part of what is now this very like commercialized and marketable community that's been overlooked historically, which is the ballroom community. Oh, now there's visibility for that violence, right? Now but what about my sister? What about my brother? What about my sibling? Right? So it's not until y'all lives are at risk, and I'm not saying y'all on here, but the gay community and the lesbian community, right? It's not until y'all shit is on the line, then it's like, oh, maybe we gonna join those trans people outside now. Now maybe we gotta identify ourselves not for a night out, but as an ally, as a person affected, right? And I know that I'm like, oh, I love y'all who's been on Instagram giving trans lives matter, because baby, when yours need to matter, trust and believe I might be unavailable, and I might be clicking the same share button and giving you $20 in the code for your rally, because that's what you gave me. You gave me $20 and to stand in the code, and you probably didn't even get me a code. So I'm going to share that experience so you understand the next time when my rights is on the line, you understand that it's collective liberation, right? Because we never stop showing up for others the way that others stop showing up for us. Absolutely. And so I am sick and tired of feeling like it's my responsibility to be in community with people that don't create community experiences for me. And so at the end, what I know is like either we are part of this together, and it doesn't stop or start with me being black. It doesn't stop or start with being trans. It doesn't stop or start with being a former forced secure youth, a former sex worker. What I know is that as a person of color, right, there's one of my people that's still not free. And it is my responsibility to do the work to get them free with me, right? And so I got to keep fighting, because I know if you won't, I have to. And when you don't, I have to. So the girls got to keep fighting no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
But I invite everybody in. No matter where you live in the world, you should find your community. And your community don't stop or start, again, with just being black or LGBTQ. Get your ass out there and do the real work. Because when Trump comes, there's not a wig or edge glue.
It's all of right. He
not a
gonna
wig.
lump us all together. He gonna say all of y'all could get to stepping, okay? Like lump us all together. And you know, I think there was something else in it too that I wanted to add on, which is oh shit, it's blanking my mind. Just had a brain fart.
Sorry, I know my tangents be carrying, so it's like you be having a good thought,
you.
and then she's going a 20-minute tangent, and it's like, Lord, I was there with her before she had to say 16 other things.
No, that's what we all.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think I was going to say something along the standpoint though, of just like, you know, to show up for others, you don't have to be like someone else to show up for someone else. You know, like the whole thing about making spaces for other people is making space for everybody. And I hate that people have a limit, or they're selective of when they want to show up. And the truth is, if you show up for them over there, but you don't show up for them, the truth is you really didn't show up for them, because that's performative shit. At the end of the day, that's not rooted from something authentic. You showing up because there's a reason behind that's causing you to be there, but you're not there for the right reasons. Because if you show up for one person, you should be showing up for everybody.
Yeah. It never usually makes a group chat though when it comes to trans rights.
No,
but
I don't.
I think I will say this, because I don't want to tear down what has happened, and I do believe that there has been an incredible level of allyship or extending opportunities in terms of creating more trans visibility and in turn fostering more understanding, right? For example, this incredible platform that you guys have, right? To other opportunities that have been presented me along the way on the Kokomo City Trail that is solely rooted in right community building out these spaces and making sure that I feel safe in those spaces. But what I will say is that while you are doing the work and while so many others are doing the work, it's still very underwhelming in the sense that in terms of real time, right? And what I can access. So like I can access you here on the online space. But what about when I go, you know, down the block from my house and that gay man looks at me, right, and give me catty eyes? Well, I might be driving past him these days, but
I know that's
but
right.
he can throw eyes. He can, and they'll be received. But I may not feel it as much. No, but no, but I'm being
She
trying to
said,
make it
"Zoom,
light.
must be the
like
night
them
ride."
Wonder Woman bracelets.
No, and I always try to
Block
make
them.
something that feels heavy a little light because I don't want people to
Absolutely.
feel like it's not something where they're being invited in versus called out, right? Like we're all human. Nobody can get it right 100% of the time. But I know that we could all be doing more, not only in terms of how we show up for ourselves, but in turn how showing up for ourselves shows up for other people, right? And so it's like, I think whether you're gay, you're lesbian, you're bi, you're non-binary, you're trans, we all should do better just showing up for ourselves so that way we can be accessible, right, for others in community. Because when we begin to heal as an individual, we help heal a community. And so it starts with one person, and hopefully we find more people who want to heal and not just be a part of trauma. But in case you are part of the trauma committee, no, I'm rooting for you, boo.
You can do it. So you mentioned like a documentary that you're working on currently. What else is out there? What is Daniella's guest book? Tell us about that.
Okay, so Daniella's Guest Book is an online platform that I created in partnership with the ad agency Special Guest. And so it was during the Civil Rights Uprising, and Special Guest is a well-known advertisement creative agency in the industry, most known for the first Google television commercial that they did. And building out a number of different softwares, whether it be for Facebook or dating apps. I think I love to say one of the coolest things I got a chance to work on with them was a presidential campaign video. And so, excuse me, when we were helping with the messaging for other brands and companies, and then we were asked as a team, what can we do? The first thing I thought, right, and it's a global pandemic, let's focus on our own industry, right? And let's look at how homogenous the the advertisement industry is. And so I was like, okay, what I've been really good at, right, is being able to build a strong network of established individuals, right? And I think about how just what I mentioned earlier, a simple conversation changed my life. And I thought about what that looked like, especially during a pandemic. Everybody was at home. Everybody was available for conversation. Now, how do you get money for this in a pandemic? So I said, okay, the agency got some change. Can we put the money in the hands of these creatives? But because I'm trans, I didn't want it to be community focused specifically to LGBTQ. So I wanted to find a way, okay, how do I make this about BIPOC creatives and not just LGBTQ? So I invited everyone to the table because for me, I think about like how many times it's like we need a little bit of everybody at the table so we can understand community needs to build real community. And I was like, okay, I can do that online, right?
Yeah.
And when I realized that there was power in taking what worked for me and extending it to others, child, I call everybody their third mama. And the way I presented it was like, Miss Mamas, what we giving here? Are we really about liberation? Are we really about DE&I? And then it's not hard to tell a white person who has helped a black trans woman, and coming from where I come from, the importance of helping others, right? And to see the value in that. And so I got an incredible response. Most people I've known throughout the years, but from the CEO of GLAAD to Angelica Ross to New York City Public Advocate to Janet Mock to don't kill me. I know I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. If I'm forgetting you, shout out to you for really supporting the doll. But I was able to leverage that and really continue, because I can't. But I was able to continue to build out this online space, and I'm so happy to share two things. So last year I had my first in-person activation at Noya House, and I partnered with GLAAD, Special Guests, and a company called Reunion. And I don't want to get emotional. I probably won't, but let's see what happens here. But I remember the moment when I probably will. But when I was told that there was a number that we had to reach of like 200 and something of people, and I had finally did all I could, right? And I got the money for these artists, and I knew I was going to platform. I knew all this stuff, but how can I get 200 people to show up for me? Because I don't see myself the way others see me. And when I tell you that artists flew in from New Mexico, from Canada, I am going to cry. Because to stand there after all those years, remember what it felt like fighting to be seen. And in any shape or form, I was creating that moment for somebody else to feel seen. And not only did we reach capacity, everybody who said that they left that event said they felt like they were a part of a real community and they wanted to do something, right, for my artist. Yeah. And that's all I've ever hoped for, right, was to be in the shadows of society and somebody says, I see you, you deserve to be celebrated, loved, and given access. And so from doing that to now I have a partnership with Fort Wayne Cinema Center. In February 9th, 10th, and 11th, they will be highlighting my 2.0 selection, to even being able to now have an agreement with GLAAD. And over the next 6 months, I will be, doing a lot of PR publicity around my spotlighted artists and having conversations with them, to then getting the support with my documentary project, and I guess why I cried is because, all I've ever wanted it to be was what I had. That's all I ever wanted, was that somebody can say at some point in their life, wow, Daniella saw me. Yeah. And that made them feel of value, and that made them want to elevate their artistry. And the thing about my platform is that while we're like a festival, we give them money, right? Because that's the missing piece when these, top tier prestigious film festivals, right, are saying like, this is an opportunity. You have to afford that opportunity. You have to pay for those submissions. And it's not even just about pay for the submission. You have to be able to afford a production team to be able to produce a bit of quality, to then even be considered. And so it's like all this bureaucracy around just doing the work. And the work is saying there are people who are there who deserve, who are thriving, who deserve the platform. And it was my responsibility to take my network of people who says, I see you, you're fab. Okay, now they're fab. And now that they're fab, how can you show up in their life? Because I don't need it anymore. Other than the nights that I call you to get my donations for my festival. But for the main part, but for the main part, I am, because I'm full of joy and I'm forever grateful that if I only had 2 great successful cycles, I've helped 14 BIPOC people from all backgrounds, right? In no shade, all my artists are out here killing it. So make sure you check out DGB's site. They really are. I mean, it's like the universe always aligns me with where I'm supposed to be. But what I know is if I die, I got 14 BIPOC people that would take my legacy, my contribution, and maybe create the same for others. And that is what a legacy should be about, is leaving something behind that influences or inspires the next generation to continue your work. And so I believe that one of these artists someday will turn around and say, I was given recognition, so you deserve recognition. And my mission will live on forever.
Yeah. Okay, man. Oh, bars. Just bars. Right. She said, come on. So when are you planning on, and how much can you tell us about the documentary so far? And obviously come back whenever you want to, whenever that documentary comes.
For
our
sure.
podcast is your podcast, so come back and promote however you need to. But what can you tease us right now with?
Okay, so I can't tell you too much about it because, in all honesty, I don't have a name for it because nothing has spoken to me yet. But what I will tell you is that I am going to the front doors, to the rallies of everybody on every side of this conversation. So to trans affirming families, to trans attracted people in terms of supporting their partners, to Trump supporters, to the deputy executive directors, of organizations to Republican legislators. So I'm outside, right?
Outside.
But what I will say is, right, is that I want people to know that I've done the work to be the victim. What I'm going to present to the world is people who refuse to become the victim. And I'm creating what the conversation should look like. It should be something so complex, but given examples of how to navigate the conversation. So you'll see every bit of yourself, no matter where you fall, in terms of where you're at in terms of the trans journey, of understanding allyship, all that stuff. But what you know is that black families aren't the villains anymore. They are being celebrated.
Yeah.
The Midwest is interesting. So when you are sitting in New York City or California or even a country in which you are given a sense of access to healthcare, I think you'll understand that there are people in this country who's okay with living with bare minimum as long as you continue to advocate for their right to exist. And so, you know, if you know nothing else about me, I'm not going to stop till I get it right. So I may be here now, but by the time the film come out, it'll be a whole different thing. But what I know is it will be a very distant reality for so many, because they may not have experienced it yet. But I hope that what we create will invite them into this new community, this community where black mothers love their children, where black fathers are loving their children unconditionally, and failing to teach their kids about Anita Baker, but also making sure that these kids experience safety. It's Indiana, bro. It's Indiana.
It's growth. We'll get to the growth part of Anita later.
But it has been remarkable, and I've gotten incredible support. And I just want to make sure I shout out an incredible soul who have taken not just a risk, but believe in me, has supported me, and that is Louis Rubin. And he is the EP of the project. He is the ally who is doing the work, dwelling, and has already down in Texas. So he is, you know, he's been in a community that has been challenged with anti-trans laws, and has shown up in providing financial resources for those communities. And so, I mean, I cold pitched to him. Nobody told me to. And I got to show him what I can't show anybody else. But I will share with y'all, so you can't share me.
Okay.
But it was a funding rough sizzle, and I shared it with him, and immediately he said yes. And so it was, again, another reminder to the black trans sex worker to bring it back to Kokomo City and my journey of foster care and all that. But it's, what if I didn't believe in me? What if I didn't jump out that window? What if I didn't suck dick enough to, you know, be able to get through school and then find love, okay? But ultimately, I had to go through those things into certain places in order to arrive here, because the subjects of this film, the protagonists, they deserve me. I deserve them. And we are doing this work together. I mean, I'm providing them with tools along the way. I've given one girl, like, books that she can read, and I'm making sure to be available at all times. Like, I am being the change that I know the industry should be, but also if you struggle to understand how to do it, I want to be that person to show you how to do it. So
I'm excited. I can't wait to see that.
I do more than much, I promise you.
I know that's right. Well, we do a little segment here called Curiosity, just to kind of get to know you on a different level. I mean, you was dropping bars, so we got a good feeling of who you are. But it's kind of quick, little, just like whatever first song comes to mind, this or that. And so we'll start. Actually, you didn't answer. What's your favorite Anita Baker song?
Giving You the Best That I Got.
That is a bop of a song.
And I definitely could bet on my wedding ring some days. I really do be giving the best that I got.
So coming to the stage is Daniella Carter. What song is playing?
Oh, a whole different song? Cynthia
It could be
Erivo.
anything.
Okay, Cynthia Erivo, I'm Here.
Ooh.
And that's for all my trans sisters.
There we
baby.
go. There we
That
go.
song
Okay. Okay.
gets me.
Vacation mode. Beach or mountains?
Beach boots.
The beach.
You can't boots at the beach? No.
Keep the mountain, okay?
Look,
Oh no, I
that's for
won't.
me.
Barely might have anything on. I might even
Damn.
go in the ocean in a little dress, depending on how I feel.
Oh, look. A little white gal, she flowing on there.
No, that means I've had too much to drink.
And wait, hold on, we tripping. We like got right into it. Speaking of drink, like, what's your auntie name?
My auntie name. So because I am going to be this in general when I get older, so I feel like Auntie Patty.
Okay,
That's
we
Patty.
go. There we go.
Yes.
Not mad at it. Not
Because as soon
mad
as I
at
hit 50, if I live to see it, everybody
You
gonna be
will.
calling me Patty.
it. Period.
No,
Patty
you don't know.
pies and
Don't speak
everything.
for me. By 50, I might be ready, boo.
Yeah, you want to be ready?
I know people say that's
To do
young.
what I did.
I don't know where we might be at when I'm 50. I don't know what world we might be in.
That's a word. That is a word.
So Trump do his big one.
I know we say if he come, we moving. get my bag and I'm out, bitch.
going to
Is there a
Europe,
certain beach that you love more than others? Is there a certain location that you've been? You're like, oh, I just love it here. It gives me peace.
Okay. It gives me peace. That was cute. That was cute. Because now I'm really trying to. No, I know. I guess not food, right? Because I'm like, see, I'm trying it. But I'm basing it beach. I felt relaxed at. Okay, I have to. Malibu Beach.
Malibu Beach. Okay.
Yep. Shout out to Gladstone.
What's the?
It's the restaurant. I'm like, just go there for sunset. That's why.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
Good
I've
food
never been to
and a
Malibu.
great
Have I
sunset.
been to Malibu Beach? I don't think I have,
Malibu's cute.
actually.
It's cute.
It is.
That's what I hear. That's what I
It was
hear.
very cute.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna say Kokomo City, but
I know
Pretty
that's
Woman
right.
is what got me to Kokomo City.
Oh,
Hey, come
there
on
we go.
now.
So Pretty Woman, yeah.
I
Kokomo
literally
City
just
is
watched
the
that last
legacy.
week. I love Pretty Woman. I just watched it last week again.
Did you really?
Oh, whew.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I've seen
I'm
that
glad
movie.
I heard that again because I think I would have lost connection.
She said, "That's enough. This interview's over."
But you thought I hadn't seen it before? That's what
Yes,
you think
I was like, this is too
Oh.
much.
No, I had seen it before. We had just watched it again.
Let's see here. Brandy or Monica?
Brandy.
Okay. Janet or Beyonce?
Janet.
Ooh, she said in period.
No, I'm confused because like Janet did everything. Crawled, walkered for Beyonce to exist.
Yeah,
You're right.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yes, that's what we say too. Like, at first
Oh,
we're
okay,
like,
yeah, I
"Oh,
was getting.
damn,"
I'm
but
like,
then
is that
we're
even?
like, no, it gotta be
I didn't know if
Janet.
that was real.
Yeah, some people struggle with. She's like, bro, is that a question? Right? Yeah, no, some
That
people
can't
struggle.
be. Not Janet.
Do you have a favorite Janet song?
Of course. Control.
Control.
I'm like, it's everything you expect.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Control, yeah, I love her.
Yeah. Is there a favorite Beyonce song? Oh wait, let's back. You thought of another one though.
Cause now I kind of thought about it. She really be. Don't let me be going through it and play "That's the Way Love Goes." So then I'm like,
hey.
right. That sounds like, damn. Now I feel like,
Look.
yeah. I'm sorry, I can't choose.
I just had that on my
Hey.
stories last weekend.
Damn.
Yeah, that's
That
hard
is
for
really
me
good
now
song,
between
too.
those two. But shout out to
Yeah.
Janet.
That was
I
that
know what
grown.
you're saying.
Look, I just.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the way.
She
I
looks
love-
so
That's the
fucking
way.
pretty. I mean, she looks fucking pretty all the fucking time. But that Janet era, the hair, the outfit, the make, like, it's disgusting. Disgusting. Like, she ain't had to do us that way. Did not have to do us
That's
that
that Jackson money, baby.
way. That's that Jackson. You right.
When you grow up with a zoo in your backyard,
No bubbles.
you're
no
always
bubbles.
gonna look good. Not no bubbles.
Is there a favorite Beyonce song?
Beyonce. Because I feel like being problematic. If I was a boy.
Throw this microphone.
I'm done. I'm done.
And what too?
I fuck with you, Danielle. I fuck with you. I genuinely do. Nobody can fuck with Danielle. I'm team Danielle all day.
No, that's right.
That'll be my one for the people. I cannot with
Oh,
it.
Lord. Well, so, I mean, we could talk to you all day. Quickly, the Grammys were just here. There was a couple kind of moments that everybody's kind of hooping and hollering about. Miss TS done won the 4th Album of the Year award. So the most ever, beating out like Stevie Wonder and Paul Simon and who was the other one, Billy Joel or somebody. And a lot of people are still like, does she deserve it? Does she not? And we saw Jay-Z get up there for the Global Icon Award.
Before
we even knew all of that.
Too.
And kind of just read the room, read the Grammys, you know, saying, A, thank you for this award. However, comma, I know somebody that I might particularly know very well that has the most Grammys of all time, but never got the record of the year. How does that make sense? Houseway kind of thing. And how some of y'all don't even need to,
Exactly.
be in some of these categories, which is true. But again, it kind of seems like every year we kind of have the Grammys come up, and the conversation is like, how legitimate are the Grammys, and is someone got robbed and things like that. Personally, I'm like, we've been done said it. Like, the Grammys was not set up for black artists, to be frank. And I mean, and to me, not to take, because like, even though Taylor Swift isn't necessarily for me, I don't want to take away from work because she is working hard and things like that. But to me, in my head, I go, in 30 years, are we going to say that Taylor Swift is better than Stevie Wonder? Like that alone to me sounds fucking bizarre and bonkers. Like,
for sure.
Stevie the Wonder. And Taylor Swift has more albums of the year than Stevie now. Like, that doesn't add up in my mind. Screw everybody else that ain't won it. That's weird to me. But so be it. But again, the Grammy Awards weren't set up to acknowledge a lot of black artists, and then the black artists that they do try to acknowledge, it's kind of more of a pony show. They get them there because we know the ratings are going to be high. They always try to get Beyonce and Jay there every fucking year and find some way to get them there because, we're interested and that they're going to get the numbers and viewers that they need out of it. So anyway, Gerard, I know you had like a whole little spiel on your stories. What were you thinking, boo?
I just want to check the room, though, really quick. You know who Stevie Wonder is?
I do know who Stevie Wonder is.
I just got to
Yes,
keep
ma'am.
checking. I want to be here with you.
It's a word.
Yeah.
It's a word.
I'm a side party. I love you,
No,
bro.
my favorite
I'm sorry.
my favorite Stevie Wonder song is "As." I love that song so much.
That's
That's
honey.
just such a beautiful song.
Said,
But
ass. No.
although I will say this though, he was a little off key though.
Stevie getting old.
He getting old. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all need to get Stevie off the stage.
What happens with Stevie is Stevie's the best singer to me, especially maybe male singer, because maybe female is Whitney, but male singer ever. And I think he's getting older and realized, damn, I can't do it like I used to, and it's bothering the fuck out of him.
Hold on. Now y'all up here carrying. Shout out to Stevie, but you're not going to try my Luther like that. And I'm not.
That's what I was sitting here thinking. Like, why?
It goes Stevie then Luther. It's Stevie then Luther. Absolutely.
Okay. You know what?
We don't have to agree to disagree.
I don't know how not to say what I feel without it
Say how
having
you feel, baby.
consequences.
Say how you
No.
feel,
Oh,
baby.
no. Some things you must keep to yourself.
Let me tell you,
I
the
said
way
what
we
I said.
go,
I said what I said.
we go in on each other over here, girl.
We do.
Look.
No, it's not about to y'all. It's about a community out there that don't deserve to be affected by my words because of y'all. So, but
We'll put that as a poll this week. Communities. Who is it, Stevie or Luther? We'll get to that. And honestly, at the end of the day, you
but
can't
how
go
can
wrong
you
with either
keep
one.
doing that to Luther?
Oh, Luther,
I'm like,
Luther's
what can
right
you
there.
compare? He had to
Let's
sit
go
Whitney
listen to
Houston. Okay, based off of what you said, so I'm gonna hit you with a little bit of what Jay said.
Yeah.
Based off of your own metrics.
Right. Your own mention. said it don't even make sense based on your own metrics. I know that's right.
How you gonna make that one make sense? Because when Whitney tried him, he sat her down while standing up there with
That is
Dionne
a
Warwick.
Standing right next to her, right next to her,
and
in
he
her
said,
face.
and that's what friends
He
are
said,
for.
he said,
He said, that's what friends are for, to get you together.
Exactly. Like what?
Yeah.
'Cause,
But anyway, we'll that might be a whole nother episode.
I think I'll loosen up my wig to take it off for the night.
I got to sweating.
Yes, I'm gagging.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord! But I forget. Oh, Jarrell, yeah, you had a little spiel about the whole Taylor Swift thing.
I don't know. So my whole issue, and it wasn't necessarily with Taylor Swift, but just with the Grammys, kind of like to what you were saying earlier. I just think it's honestly, it's just fucking bullshit. Like
Yeah.
the people who are voting clearly are, and I believe last year it came out that it was reported that some of the people were voting just off a name, that they hadn't even listened to the music. So
Sure.
that even came out last year, that quite a bit of voters were just saying, oh, we know this name, so that's how we're voting for this person.
Yeah, because
Hence
who's listening to Harry Styles over Renaissance a year later? Let's be all the way real.
baby. Okay? So
Nobody.
all I'm saying is and on my rant, I was just saying, it's clear who listens to an artist, and it's clear who listens to music. Because if you listen to music, you can listen to any genre and be able to respect the artistry and see the artistry that the person's giving. I listen to all sorts of shit. I listen to classical, to country, to rock, to K-pop, to French pop, to Latin.
Baker.
I listen to all the stuff of today. Okay?
And admitting
I'm
this
living in the
during
present.
February.
I am living in the present. I listen to everything today. Okay? But I don't have to speak the other languages. I don't have to be a white person who listens to country to see the artistry, right? Or to respect it. I don't have to listen to French to understand what the fuck they're saying. Like, music moves you, right? Of any language. And I don't want to hear from anyone who can sit there and say, since it's not my type of music, it don't have to be your type of music to see what was done with that album. That album had fucking levels to it. And there's ain't no way an album of Taylor Swift that was combined of music that she didn't put on her other albums. So it's not like the bitch wrote brand new shit. She just took shit that was old from other stuff and then gave you an album. And you want to say that was better than that? It just wasn't adding up. So the way it
But
ended,
Beyonce had to pay for her marketing, unlike Taylor Swift, right?
And
Yes.
So a lot of these
There's
streaming
a-
platforms made sure to position Taylor Swift in a way where, right, like she was going to reach those numbers that Academy members, what the fuck is wrong with me? Academy members, would have to consider too when making their decision.
but that's
And
where
so-
record of the year comes in play. Record of the year is more based off of numbers.
Not, I'm thinking the album too. I would imagine most.
Yeah, but the album year is more about, I think, the other things behind the scenes that happen with the album, if I believe correct.
So there's record, album, and song of the year. Song of the year is
an individual
people
track.
that are like, song of the year is the one where it's like people also writing it and engineering.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. Record of the year is like just if you like the damn song. Album of the year is like the Midnights versus Renaissance was last year, but the Renaissance is the Lemonades. Blah blah blah.
And wasn't
But
so
thing.
issue about that?
But-
Was that she didn't,
what
that she
it is,
never
like-
received album?
And a lot of the behind the scenes stuff too, with like even the record labels. So a lot of it is like what the record labels want to push and know what they're going to get the most bang for the buck behind the scenes. The hard thing, which is weird with Beyonce though, all of these years, is that Beyonce is still moving numbers. So that part of it is just very weird, and it might just be the foundation of the Grammys ain't for black people. But a lot of times, like say a Columbia Records has
Yeah, I
two
be playing.
people of album of the year in the same category. They got to pick and choose what they're going to spend their money on and push. So, like, say it's an Adele and a Beyonce. When Adele's selling to 10 million and Beyonce selling maybe to 5 million, it comes out, okay, well, let's push this and get Adele because we're probably going to get more bang for our buck. And that's the kind of almost like behind the scenes pushes that a lot of people just don't even realize that a lot of these labels are doing. So if your label ain't behind the scene helping push and saying, "Hey, we sent out the email. Remember to vote today." And oh, you know what? Check your email again today. Like there's just like basic shit like that where if you ain't out there reminding folks to vote and got the team behind you to remind these folks to vote.
There's some truth to that.
Okay,
Because
so
Victoria Monet
honestly,
said that as well.
I feel like people looked at their bank account and realized how much Beyonce tapped into their account and said, "So baby girl, you got my coins, but you don't get my vote." So, pick your battles here. Do you want the vote,
That's true.
or do
Right,
you
you
want
want
me
me
in
at
that
your
seat?
concert, or you want the vote, girl? I can't give you everything.
But I'm thinking that when it comes to like a lot, like because I'm kind of confused when it comes to Beyonce because she is her own label, right? So
Yeah.
she's
Well,
putting her
she's
own
still
music
on
out. So
Columbia
it's
at the
like
end of the day too, though. Like her Parkwood is
loosely.
still underneathly.
She has
Columbia,
catalog with them and stuff and distribution, but I
Yeah.
think ultimately Beyonce has enough power
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
she
that's
can
true.
control what marketing looks
Yeah.
like around anything
true.
that she's putting out. And so
Yeah, that's
if
why
you
she's like the
fail to do
anomaly.
more-
I don't know. I don't get that dynamic. It's almost like they like fuck this black woman. Like
But I'm kind of
she
confused.
should not have this
Y'all
much
gonna hate
power.
me for this. But while that's important, it's also like none of y'all have went out y'all way to create a space that centers just black artists, creating our
true,
own
too.
Grammys. So, and that's where it's like always a touchy
Yeah.
subject for me when we start talking about Afro elitists and what accolades they're owed, because I think about how they benefit from it and don't create some type of system that opens doors for other black artists. So it's like, oh, you robbed me of a moment to say I'm better than everyone else. And it's like, and I'm not going to take away from what Beyonce does for the economy and for black women and all the great talking points. But when we get as basic as, you know, an accolade as like the Grammys, right? Beyonce don't really need that. So
She
for
don't.
me, I'm going to be honest. The fact that your husband did do that, I'm sorry, it's tacky. For me, it's a form of abuse of power. Because at the end of the day, there's a bunch of artists who will never be given the opportunity to be invited into that space, right? And you're not advocating for them. You're advocating for you to have another trophy. A trophy in which literally in your home is probably just something that goes downstairs in the basement, Johnny, next to the third one before you hit the corner for the ace of spades, right? Like, it's that type of ordeal, right? And so it's like, but for me, it's like, I would love to see them use their platform in a way that doesn't feel like propagating gatekeeping it to a certain extent, right? Because it's like, if you're not a part of the Beyonce universe, then you're not accepted, you know? And then it's like, hold on, Beyonce, I'm sorry, yes, you started your girls group, but where are they going after your tour? You know? So I'm sorry, I'm that person where I'm like, it needs to be equity and opportunity for all and those who have the most power and don't necessarily need that moment. What did you do to advocate for somebody else? And I'm sorry, they don't do that. They bring their own bottles of thousands of dollars worth of champagne to the Grammys. They're all attending all these other Grammys events throughout the year.
I would low key bring my own champagne though too if I had it.
Yeah, but this is a place that don't respect your wife though. So
Now that's a word.
so
That's a word.
I'm just confused. It's like I would love to see more, do more, but don't choose moments when you want to speak up because they're all in trust. They're going to those different Grammy events throughout the year. They're gonna go to the Grammy Museum.
And he
They're
kind of
gonna
hinted
do
at
all
that.
these
He's like, I still watch. Like, so I think he even understands the complicated nature, the complicated order of what he's even saying up there. Because he's like, yeah, we boycotted, but guess what? I still watched, and we did this. Yeah, we did
Well,
this.
he was
A
talking
billionaire.
about talking about Will Smith.
No, he
Well,
did the
he
same
said
thing.
Will first,
He
and then he said
Yeah,
himself
he
too
did-
when
he
he
did
was
the
talking
same
for
thing.
DMX.
But
I
he's
just-
a billionaire
I just-
too. So
Yeah,
I just
right.
don't understand, to be honest with you, why they even showed up in the first place.
I wouldn't.
I just
that's
like
my point.
squash all the noise about, you know, like who's nominated for what. Like at the end of the day, they don't need any validation from the industry because they control their own narrative. They control every aspect. And for a lot of people, getting a Grammy opens up doors. Well, the doors are already open for them. The doors are already flung open. They control the doors for themselves and for a lot of other others. So I
dope would it have
legit
been to,
just
like, he's a
don't
global icon?
understand.
Jay-Z and Beyonce couldn't make it tonight. We'll accept this on their
That's
honor.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's
No.
what I'm saying. Like, going forward, what is the incentive for them to participate at all in any of these events?
Yeah.
It's not
No,
rooted in
you're right.
ego.
Don't give them the viewers, don't give any of them the satisfaction.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely
and
right.
it's really not about sour grapes at this point. It's about you can do better and you can open more doors outside of the dog and pony show
confines.
that's using you
Exactly.
like Sandman Sims to come on out there and shake and shive and do all that shit just because you're going to get this goddamn trophy. That means absolutely nothing.
And keep in mind, as
And
they're
I'm
sitting
and I'm
up-
through.
and as they're complaining, their child is the youngest in history to have a
To
Grammy.
win. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this is where I'm like, when you ask for something, just be mindful. And that's a moment where I would say they need to check their privilege. I'm sorry, because they sit behind the house that the world funded. Because she definitely let you know I'm buying this $100 million house and y'all gonna pay for this. And then I'm gonna show up to the Grammys and complain that I didn't get a Grammy for it. And y'all all gonna be outraged for me, so y'all gonna do the PR that I'm not gonna pay for, right? And so I just feel like it's all just clickbait in the sense of he knew what he was doing. He knew he was going to get accepted. He knew he probably knew that if he didn't say it, the effects of what was going to happen to that. Something tell me when Beyonce,
It's kind of like a damn if you do,
she
damn
ran
if you
around
don't.
busting out windows with a bat and started singing Resentment. So,
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
you know, so the problems he might have to go through after. But I think we all as people should understand too that for me it's not about, like you said, the dog and pony show, but it's bigger than that. It's like, what are we asking of them too as leaders, right, in the industries, and how they can show up for us? Because if we're outraged because she didn't break another record and that doesn't help another emerging black artist, then what is she really doing? And it's not about the selective few, right? It's about making this institution accessible to those who can develop tools and then gain access to produce quality projects. Because it's like everybody expect, especially black artists, to come out with something good. But where is the good for them? If they have to go through all these hoops and hurdles to even get to, what don't really exist anymore, an A&R, now you got to go viral, right, to get the attention
Because
of a so-called A&R. Like,
I almost struggle because, like, if it isn't them to kind of show up and say a little something, because here's the thing, let's be all the way real. The Grammys ain't going nowhere no time fast, and the Grammys are going to still be, quote unquote, if you're a musician in that industry, the gold standard. Is what it is. That ain't going to change no time soon. So it's kind of almost one of those things like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't show, like if you don't, and they are probably the most powerful couple in music, if they don't show up and say a little something, even if it benefits them or doesn't benefit them, there ain't going to be anyone else to maybe shift it a little bit. So that's the part where I'm like, it sucks that they have to show up because I just know what the Grammys are doing to have them show up. But if they are going to get these awards, it has to be them to say something a little bit too, because there ain't no one else that's going to be able to shift it.
And,
right,
and,
so
and I have to think
sorry,
about like
Rumi
the
didn't get her
Grammys
sippy
too.
cup.
But I was gonna say like the Grammys reach a lot of rooms and audiences that I feel like that microphone, like certain messages need to be spoke into that. And I think to Daniella's point, I would have rather appreciated Jay-Z taking that time to highlight artists that could have benefited from that moment versus bringing Beyonce up. Right?
Exactly.
I like that he used her as an example because she is. There is no one more nominated than her, right? And I see what he was doing with that intention, but to the point though, you don't need anymore. Like you are the top. You are the standard. So why advocate for the standard? Why not advocate for the people afterwards who are trying to come up?
Because
right?
nobody's as good as her.
But
But you're not willing to discover it though if you feel that way. Because
he started that way. He started that way, and then he brought Beyonce into it because he started with saying that, but they need to show up. He's like, they need to do better. They need to do better. They need to do better. And then he brought Beyonce to the conversation. I think that's where it took a change because he was saying like, I appreciate this, but this ain't enough. Like this is all fine and dandy, but y'all got to do better. You got to keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he talked about Will Smith, and he talked about other things that happened before him too. I just think it went left when he brought in someone who already has earned so much. If they need to do better,
I guess I took
show
it the
how they do
opposite.
better
That, like,
today. Show how they do
yeah.
better today. Not talk about how they could have done better back in the day.
Pookie and Tay
That
Tay
time
need
already
that
came
studio
by.
session. That's all I'm
Pookie
saying.
and Tay-Tay.
That's
no, we don't need no more
but I keep
Tay-Tays.
making.
We done with
No,
the
I'm
Tay-Tays.
joking. That's just my to-go too.
I got you.
I think
Right,
it's
like,
my
no more
another
Tay-Tay
life. I had a
names.
Tay Tay, but no, I say that because I think about just all the artists who really need people like Beyonce to advocate for them.
Mm-hmm.
But then how many artists? You know what? We ain't ready for that. Forget it. Because I'm not here to advocate for artists who's going through things at Rock Nation, nor am I, in terms of their issues with getting distribution until them. But I think that everybody deserves to be celebrated. Everybody deserves love, and shout out to all the Black people who's making history.
And shout out to Victoria Monet, by the way, though.
Yeah,
Shout out
to
to
Victoria
Victoria
Monet.
Monet.
Yeah, for coming
Winning
out,
Best New Artist.
for being queer,
She
and then
looked
showing up
gorgeous.
with her man. Sorry, I can't. I
Well, she's
can't.
bisexual.
She bisexual. She's
so,
bisexual. So.
you know.
We just be taking anything and just running with it just for news. Shout out to her for being really queer though. But I feel like we as a community just will latch on to anything that feels like representation. Because for
I
you to
just
be
like her.
bisexual and
I
make
like
it a
she's
moment
good.
and everybody focus on that, I'm gonna need you to show up with your girlfriend too.
Ooh, yeah, that's true.
Because they focus more on her sexuality and
I
there
didn't
was
know
no
she dated
representation
Kehlani.
of that.
I had no idea she dated Kehlani.
You didn't know she dated Kehlani?
I had no idea.
They got like songs like.
I know.
about
I
each
was
other.
watching something on YouTube and she was like, "Oh, it's about." It. I was like, "I had no idea.
Oh, word? That's
No
funny.
idea."
Yeah.
Where they
But
was
shout out
at.
to her. And low key,
Where her
Shout out
girlfriend
to
was at
Tracy
that
Chap-
night though.
well, shout out to Tracy Chapman. She kind of got her moment.
Yeah.
And that's another
Okay.
moment where the Grammys
That is
fucked
true.
up 30 years ago. Because that song
That's
is still a
crazy.
bop. And it took a white man for them to finally acknowledge that damn song, but at least they let her get on stage, I guess. And then low key, I kind of enjoyed Miley Cyrus. Not gonna lie, I enjoyed Miley Cyrus.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate
I
it.
enjoyed it.
I
The
think her
one thing that I
dealer
hated-
appreciates it too.
Oh, stop.
I was annoyed by her hair. Her hair was
Yeah, her
annoying.
hair
as
was-
fuck.
yeah,
I
it was
hated
annoying
the
me
hair, and I hate that she was trying.
That's called
You
the
know what her
dealer
hair looked
blowout.
like? Remember, what was the season one of American Gladiators?
Got that.
The Malibu. Wait, what she said?
I said that's a dealer blowout.
Oh, yeah, it's something.
I
Her hair
know.
looked like
She-
her
you
hair
could
looked like
see it
Malibu from
happening.
American Gladiators. Look it
No.
up, community.
It
Malibu
looks
from
like she
American
put her finger in
Gladiators.
the socket after the dealer gave her. Okay, I love Whitney, but it looked like she might have been close to that dealer.
Oh Lord.
It wasn't enough to get her to a bathtub, but it was definitely enough to get her on the
You
carpet
know
with
what?
that
Oh,
hair.
too soon. Too soon.
No, I love Whitney down. I want to dance with somebody too, just not the way her and Miley did.
Not how they both dance.
Nah, that hair was crazy.
But community, please go check out Kokomo City if you haven't. Please.
Yes.
And please go support Daniella. Danielle, tell them your socials and everything where to find you so that way they can follow you and support you on your documentary that's coming up and all that good stuff as well.
So first you can follow Daniella's guest book, and that's on Instagram. We have a website, daniellasguestbook.com. You can also look at Glad Social for over the next 6 months, and you can see Daniella's guest book work. You can follow me on Daniella.Carter. For everybody who feels like a grandma like me, you can follow me on Facebook. I might answer. I feel really seen in that space.
I love Facebook. I ain't gonna lie, I love Facebook still.
But I really don't use Twitter. But if you were to add me on Twitter, you can. It's Miss D Carter. You will not get a response. But it is available to you if you feel seen in that space. And for my film, I would say, follow my page, Daniella.Carter, and I'm sure I'll be announcing things in the next coming months as I'm hoping to kind of align for the next cycle of the film festival circuit. So I think we'll be good to go by then. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And just know
Follow
you
the
always
dog.
have a spot to come here, to
Absolutely.
be seen, to be heard, all the above. just say, hey, I'm stopping through. Stop through, boo.
I got you.
This is always here.
I got you. I'm gonna make sure I send you those some Anita Baker.
Yes, yeah. Let me tell you, okay.
And I might give you family and friends on Apple Music at this point.
I got Apple Music and Spotify, so send the list. It will be heard and listened.
I got
and
you.
the homework will be done, and I'll be ready for the quiz the next time you're on the podcast.
I'm here for
we
real.
go.
That
There we
part.
go.
Just because you're
And then-
you.
Just because, and I feel like you needed to go like, boop. Just because you're you.
Thank
And then
you.
community, we know Drake's penis is out there on Twitter and X. We were debating if we were going to talk about it or not, but we'll just say that. We'll leave it there. We didn't leak it. We don't condone leaking of people's private nudes. But
But
it
it
was
was
out
nice.
there. I might look.
Y'all know I be dapping.
I did
dicks.
look.
You know I be dapping dicks.
Well, that
I
one
feel like my
looked it
husband would
was-
be very understanding if Drake requested any of my services that I provided
just saying.
during my Kokomo City experience. So
My
Drake,
husband might
if
boot
this
me out
makes
the
it to
way.
your way, know that there's an understanding and no drama. Okay, no
none.
strings attached, no drama. But I need my check.
No. Seriously.
Throw
Corey
that
might trip
ass
me on the
back.
way there. Trying to push me out the way. I saw him first, bitch. But like, oh, shit. It's like if you could pull Drake, I can't even be mad in the least bit. Are you
No,
kidding
that
me? Like, go ahead, boo. Tell me how it was. Take some
Apparently, he
pictures
got
and some
the type,
films.
though,
Thank
right?
you.
He got a
Yeah.
type.
Does he have a type?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Okay, this is not my place of ministry.
Anyway.
So thank
Well,
y'all
community.
for being incredible.
And community, wash your hands, wash your ass. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Okay.
Thank y'all.